He texted her goodnight every night, and every night she believed it. Lena had matched with him on a rainy Tuesday, the kind of day where loneliness feels louder. His name was Drew. His profile wasn't flashy. A photo of him in a hoodie, one of him hiking, and a third with a black lab named Milo. His bio was simple. Not here to play games, just looking for something honest. And for some reason, it struck her. She didn't usually believe bios, but this one felt different. They started talking that same night. By morning, they'd exchanged a dozen messages. By the end of the week, they were texting non-stop. He was quick, funny, sharp. But more than that, he made her feel seen. Like he was actually listening. Like he noticed the pauses between her words. Like he cared about the answers to questions no one else bothered to ask. They hadn't even met yet, but she found herself checking her phone like a reflex, smiling without realizing, saying no to other matches. Because Drew wasn't just someone she wanted to meet. He felt like someone she already knew, but then he canceled their first date. At first, it made sense. His message came the night before. "Hey, I hate to do this. My boss just moved up a site visit. I'll make it up to you. Can we aim for this weekend?" Lena wasn't upset. He had a life, a job, priorities. Besides, she appreciated that. He let her know instead of ghosting. She said she understood. He thanked her for being patient. The conversation went right back to how it was before. Warm, thoughtful, continuous. The weekend came. They rescheduled. He picked a spot near her neighborhood. She even bought a new blouse for the occasion. But 2 hours before the date, he texted again. "Total disaster. My sister's car broke down and I have to go help her. I'm so sorry. You must think I'm a walking excuse." She laughed it off. "Life happens. Take care of your sister." She meant it, but something in her stomach twisted, just slightly. By the third cancellation, she stopped telling her friends they were going to meet. It wasn't that she didn't trust him. It was that she didn't trust herself anymore. She'd been through this before. The slow pull-in, the emotional closeness, the promises without substance. But this felt different. Drew felt different. That's what made it worse. He never disappeared. Never got cold. He called her Elle in a way that made her melt. Sent her photos of his dog wrapped in blankets. Sent voice notes with sleepy good mornings. He wasn't flaky. He was present. He made her laugh. He remembered her favorite tea. He asked about her dad's health after she'd mentioned it once in passing. It all felt real. Until it didn't. One night after a canceled date that came without even a full explanation. Just, "I'm so sorry, I can't tonight. Please don't hate me." Lena sat on her couch staring at her phone. She didn't text back. For the first time in weeks, she let the silence sit. She looked at his profile again. The pictures she knew by heart. She wondered how many others were reading the same words, laughing at the same jokes, waiting for the same man. She clicked on his Instagram, which he'd linked in his bio, something she hadn't stalked deeply before. It was mostly dog photos, coffee shops, hiking trails, solo pictures, just enough to feel human, just little enough to raise no flags. But that night she looked closer. And something odd happened. She noticed that none of his friends ever commented on his photos. No tags, no stories showing shared moments, no candid group photos, just Drew and Milo. Drew and trees. Drew and black coffee and aesthetically pleasing mugs. It was curated. Too curated. So she scrolled all the way back, a year. 2. Nothing changed. No holidays with family. No birthday photos. No casual Sunday brunch posts. Just isolation, painted as minimalism. And then something caught her eye. A small detail. In the background of a hiking photo, someone's shadow. Not a man's, long hair, curved figure. close enough to the frame that she had to have been standing next to him. But she wasn't mentioned, not tagged, not referenced. It was the only photo in which someone else's presence accidentally slipped through. Lena took a screenshot, then opened another app, reverse image search. She didn't expect it to work. Most people didn't show up in those searches. But this time, the photo brought up a blog, a travel post. Title: Pacific Northwest Trails, Couples Edition. The image in the post was uncropped, same photo. But now she saw both faces, Drew and a woman, smiling. Arm around his waist, the caption below: "Our last hike before the move. Can't believe it's been 3 years with you, love. Dated just 8 months ago." Her heart sank. It wasn't just that he hadn't been honest. It was that he was living 2 lives. And she'd only ever seen the part he curated for people he never intended to meet. Lena stared at the photo for a long time before she even realized she was holding her breath. The uncropped version sat on her phone screen, taunting her with a reality she hadn't been invited into. Drew, standing close to a woman who looked both carefree and familiar. The way her hand rested against his chest said everything. It wasn't just a casual girlfriend. It wasn't a fling. It was a relationship that had roots. And the timestamp was clear. 8 months ago. Which meant it overlapped with her, or worse, maybe it never ended. She read the blog post 3 times. It wasn't just a repost of photos. It was personal, descriptive, full of inside jokes she couldn't possibly understand. Mentions of their apartment, their Sunday rituals, their anniversary, a whole life unfolding in sentences that had nothing to do with her, and yet erased her completely. She felt sick. This wasn't a man who was busy, or guarded, or struggling to open up. This was a man who had crafted an alternate reality, and sold it to her like it was the only truth. She clicked on the blog's About Me page. The woman's name was Erin, a photographer, Portland-based. She had a portfolio, a following, and a gallery show coming up. Lena felt a sharp twist in her gut. This wasn't just some secret ex. This was someone with a public connection to Drew. One she had somehow never seen. She checked Erin's Instagram. Unlike Drew's, it was alive with moments, trips, candids, stories. And there he was. Not often, but enough. A tagged post from 4 months ago. Grateful for this one. Always. Comments full of hearts, emojis. Congratulations on their trip to Banff. So Drew wasn't just seeing someone else, he was living with her. Lena locked her phone and stood up too fast. Her chest felt tight. Her apartment suddenly felt unfamiliar. She walked to the kitchen without knowing what she was looking for. Her body moved because her mind couldn't. She opened a cabinet, closed it, touched the countertop, pressed her palms into the cool stone like it could anchor her to something solid. She'd let this man into her thoughts, her fears, her quietest places. She had trusted him with the softest version of herself, the one that whispered things, like, maybe this time will be different. And all the while, he was sending her selfies from a bathroom he didn't even live in, creating an illusion of distance, pretending he was stuck at his sister's, or working late. But in reality, he was sleeping beside someone else, sharing a life with someone else, and texting Lena like she was an accessory to a loneliness he didn't actually have. She sat down on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, and let the silence swallow her. It wasn't just betrayal, it was manipulation, disguised as connection. Drew hadn't lied because he was afraid. He lied because he wanted both lives. He wanted the comfort of his long-term relationship and the thrill of someone new. He wanted Lena's laughter without the responsibility, her attention without the risk. He crafted a character so carefully that even she, someone who prided herself on intuition, missed it entirely. Or maybe she hadn't missed it. Maybe she'd known, deep down, that something was off. And she'd chosen to believe the version that made her feel wanted. That realization cut deeper than any lie. She scrolled back through their messages, his voice notes, his little "good night L" texts. They were still there, still in her phone, still echoing like ghosts in an empty room. She found the one he sent 2 nights ago. "Wish I could be there. You deserve a date night more than anyone. I promise I'm making it happen soon." She listened to it 3 times. The voice was soft, warm, familiar. She wanted to scream. She thought about blocking him, deleting everything. But something stopped her. Not because she wanted him back, but because she needed to decide what to do with the truth. And something inside her whispered, "He's doing this to someone else too." She opened Tinder again. His profile was still active. She swiped down, and to her surprise, it showed he was online just an hour ago. Her stomach turned. She opened a notes app and started typing, fast, direct, fueled by a kind of fury that only comes when you realize you weren't just lied to, you were played. "Drew, I know everything. I found the photo. I found Erin. I know who she is. I read the blog. I saw the comments. You didn't ghost me. You constructed a version of yourself and invited me into it like it was real. You lied every time you said you cared. You knew exactly what you were doing. You made me believe I was waiting for something genuine. And the worst part is, I gave you the benefit of the doubt every single time. Don't text me again. Don't apologize. Don't explain. I hope someday Erin finds out. Because women deserve the truth, even if the man they love doesn't know how to give it. She didn't send it. Not yet. Not because she wanted him to explain, but because something in her wanted to think. Not about him, about her next move. That night, Lena posted something she hadn't in a long time. A photo of herself sitting in her apartment, face bare, eyes tired but clear. The caption was simple. "Truth hurts, but lies rot you from the inside. I'm choosing clarity." She didn't tag anyone. She didn't have to. She stared at the message for 2 days. It sat unsent in her phone, glowing like a fuse waiting for someone to light it. She'd rewritten it 5 times, made it softer, then harsher, then softer again. But no version of it could erase the truth. Drew had built a lie and handed it to her like it was love. And the worst part wasn't even the betrayal. It was the premeditation. He didn't slip. He designed it. And Lena knew that silence was the last gift men like that hoped for. They counted on it. On shame, on confusion, on women blaming themselves just enough to let them walk away untouched. But this time, she wasn't going to protect him. It started with a comment. Lena visited Erin's latest Instagram post, a casual selfie with the caption, "Rainy Sundays with the softest light." Drew had liked it. That alone made Lena's heart tighten. But what pushed her over the edge wasn't the photo, it was the sea of comments underneath. Friends, family, everyone wishing her love, admiring the peace she projected. None of them knew. She clicked, "Message," typed 4 words, "Can we talk privately?" Then hit send. Her heart pounded. She didn't know what she expected. Maybe silence, maybe suspicion. But 5 minutes later, the reply came. "Of course, what's going on?" They spoke for 47 minutes. Lena didn't plan it that way. She thought it would be brief, a disclosure, a handoff of truth, and then goodbye. But Erin was calm, not defensive. She listened, asked questions, and as Lena described everything, the texts, the excuses, the photos, the voice notes, something in Erin began to shift. At first it was disbelief, then it was heartbreak, and finally it was clarity. "I had a feeling," Erin said quietly. "I just didn't want it to be real." Lena felt a lump in her throat. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to drop this on you like a bomb." No, Erin replied. You gave me back the truth, and that's never something to apologize for. Then she added something that stuck with Lena for the rest of the night. This isn't the first time I've found something, but it's the first time someone brought it to me with care. The next morning, Erin posted a story. Just a photo of her holding a cup of coffee, captioned, "Clarity comes when you stop ignoring the noise in your gut." Lena saw it. She knew what it meant, but what she didn't expect was what happened. Next, an anonymous account messaged her that same evening. No profile photo, just text. "I saw what you did. I matched with him too." Same story, same excuses. Lena froze. She typed back, "When? 3 months ago. Never met up. He always had a reason. I thought it was just me." Then a second account, then a third. All of them described the same pattern. Different cities, different names, same man, same photos, same lies. Drew wasn't just leading 2 lives. He had built a network of them. Lena felt sick. She sat with the weight of it, not as a victim, but as a witness. She had exposed one thread, and now the whole fabric was unraveling. Part of her wanted to disappear. She didn't sign up to be anyone's hero, but something else, something stronger, whispered that this was exactly why she had to speak. Not out of revenge, but because women had the right to stop wondering what they did wrong when the person they loved vanished into silence. That night, she started writing. Not a post, not a thread, a letter, addressed to anyone who had ever second-guessed their intuition. To the woman who waits for a message that never comes. To the one who rehearses texts in her head before daring to hit send. To the one who forgives too fast because he said he was just busy again. You're not crazy. You're not clingy. You're not wrong. Sometimes the reason someone avoids seeing you is because the mirror you hold up would reveal everything they're pretending not to be. She saved it in drafts, not sure when she'd post it, but knowing it had to exist. 3 days passed. No word from Drew. Not a text. Not a call. Not even a hey to cover the silence. And that told her more than any apology could. Men like Drew don't confront. They vanish, hoping the fire dies before it reaches them. But this time, the fire had names, screenshots, proof, and women who weren't afraid anymore. Lena walked into her bathroom that night and looked at herself in the mirror. Not to check her reflection, but to remind herself what truth looked like when it didn't. "Ask for permission to exist," she whispered out loud. "He never intended to meet me, but I met myself through him." He texted her 3 days later like nothing had happened. "Hey stranger, sorry I've been MIA. Things got crazy this week. Want to try for Friday?" Just like that. No explanation, no guilt, no mention of why he had vanished after promising, yet again, to make time. Lena stared at the message, thumb hovering above the screen. She'd imagined this moment for days. Not to lash out, not even to shame him, but to look him in the eye, if only once, and let him see that the version of her he was playing had burned away. So she replied, "Sure, let's do Friday." They agreed to meet at a small cafe on the east side. One he had once said was his favorite, even though Erin's blog had mentioned it as their weekend ritual. Lena arrived early, not to prepare, but to sit in her truth. To remind herself that she wasn't walking into a trap. She wasn't waiting for closure. She was already free. At exactly 6:12 p.m. he walked in, same hoodie, same smile, same disarming presence that once made her believe this man was soft, genuine, harmless. He saw her. His face lit up. Practiced? Easy? "Hey," he said, leaning in like nothing had happened. She didn't stand. Didn't smile. He froze mid-motion, reading the silence. "Everything okay?" he asked, brow furrowing. Lena looked up, meeting his eyes for the first time in weeks. "I know everything." Drew blinked. She watched it land, not like a punch, but like a crack forming across a windshield. He sat down slowly, the mask not falling yet, but trembling. "What do you mean?" "I mean Erin. I mean the blog. I mean Banff. I mean the woman you've lived with while dating other women on Tinder like it's a hobby." His jaw tensed. His fingers twitched. Still he tried. "Lena, it's not what you think." "Really?" she asked. "Because I think you're a fraud. A man who builds realities around women like stages and performs love long enough to feel adored, but never long enough to be held accountable." He leaned back. The practiced charm faded. "You went through my stuff?" "No," she replied. "I went through my instincts, the ones you worked so hard to soften." He exhaled hard, then leaned forward, hands clasped on the table. "Okay," he said. "I messed up. Things with Erin have been complicated. We've been off and on. She knows that." "She didn't," Lena said calmly. "Not until I told her." He froze. "You told her?" "I did. And I told a few others too. Turns out you're a little more popular than I realized." His face went pale. "You're trying to ruin my life?" "No," she said. "I'm just making sure no one else gets handed a script and asked to play the girl who waits." He didn't speak. He didn't apologize. Because men like Drew rarely do. Instead, he stood up, sighed, and said, "You know, not everyone is looking for a fairy tale, Lena." She looked up at him, eyes steady. "No, but most people are at least looking for the truth." And with that, he walked out. No drama, no scene. Just the quiet collapse of a performance that finally met its audience. Lena stayed at the table for a few more minutes, not to process, not to cry, just to breathe. She wasn't heartbroken, she wasn't angry. She was done, and that was its own kind of peace. That weekend, Erin posted a new blog entry. It was titled, "The Version of You That I Loved Didn't Exist, and That's Not My Fault." She didn't name Drew. She didn't need to. In the comments, Lena saw something she didn't expect. Other women leaving fragments of their own stories. Different men, same patterns. A quiet community formed, not out of trauma, but out of truth. Women who no longer blamed themselves for the lies they weren't meant to decode. Lena spent that Sunday deleting old threads, unfollowing old ghosts, and cooking for herself with music playing loud. Not breakup songs, not empowerment, anthems, just good music. Music that reminded her she didn't need drama to feel alive. That night she took a walk alone, not because she was lonely, but because she wanted to feel how far she had come. Halfway through the walk, her phone buzzed. A message from one of the anonymous accounts. "Thank you. I finally stopped waiting too." Lena smiled. Not because it fixed anything, but because it meant something broke, in the best way. A month later, Lena re-downloaded Tinder. Not to look for someone, but to look at herself. She scrolled past faces, bios, and smiles that once would have stirred something. But this time, there was no rush, no need, no illusion that someone on the other side of a screen could complete what she hadn't built in herself first. She wasn't bitter. She wasn't guarded. She was simply different. Not because of Drew, but because of who she had to become to crawl out of the version of herself that almost stayed waiting for him. The women she connected with after the fallout remained in her life. Not all of them, but a few. They created a group chat. Not for gossip, but for grounding. They shared red flags, screenshots, and sometimes just silence. A place where no one had to apologize for seeing too late. A place where intuition wasn't mocked, but honored. It wasn't sisterhood built from wounds. It was wisdom built from fire. And Lena felt more held in that quiet digital space than she had in most relationships. One afternoon, while cleaning her closet, Lena found the blouse she bought for their first date, the one that never happened. She sat on the floor holding it in her hands. It still smelled faintly of the lavender detergent she used. Still had the tag on. She could have donated it, burned it, thrown it out, but instead, she put it on, looked in the mirror, and smiled because it was never about the date. It was about the version of her who had hope, and that version didn't deserve shame. She deserved gratitude for trying, for showing up, for believing. That night, Lena wrote something new. Not to Drew, not to Aaron, not even for Instagram, just for herself. She folded the paper and slid it into her journal. He didn't lie because I wasn't enough. He lied because the truth would have demanded more than he was willing to give. But I was always worth the truth, even if he wasn't ready to say it out loud. She never heard from him again. Not directly, but every now and then, a friend of a friend would message her. Someone who had come across Drew's profile. Someone who saw the warning signs a little faster now. Someone who remembered the post, the caption, the calm. And they thanked her. Not because she exposed him, but because she reminded them they weren't alone. Some stories don't need revenge, they just need a voice. And sometimes speaking up is the ending. Not the explosion, but the echo that says, I was here, I saw what you did, and I didn't stay silent. If you've ever waited for someone who never planned to show up, if you've ever believed a voice that made you feel chosen, only to discover you were just one of many, comment below. I choose truth over illusion. Because love isn't proven in promises. It's proven in presence. Subscribe to Lived Confessions for more real stories that speak what others only whisper.